Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani and welcome back to this overall series on various narcissistic types. Today we're going to take on part 3 of the episode on neglectful narcissism. As has been sort of laid out so far, the neglectful narcissist is kind of a unique subtype in which we don't really get to be seen at all. It's as though you don't exist in their world. You could drive a tractor through the living room or paint yourself in pink glitter and they wouldn't take any notice. And obviously, this is sort of like the ultimate invalidation. It's as though you don't exist. So as we go on into this part 3, we're really going to sort of take on the impacts this kind of relationship can have on you. A lot of people who go through this kind of relationship will say, you know what? A lot of the content on narcissism has never felt like it's spoken to me. I'm hoping for those of you experiencing this kind of relationship, it helps it all make a bit more sense. So let's talk a little bit more about neglectful narcissism, and as always, I invite you to join this channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to get notifications. So let's take on a little bit more of neglectful narcissism. Now, these relationships take a tremendous toll on us, whether they are our partners or parents or other family members. In some ways, their neglect is really kind of a form of gaslighting, because there is this assumption, sort of like, hey, I'm in a relationship with someone, and that involves paying some attention to them, right? And when they literally look through you, or do not acknowledge you or any way, or don't listen to a word you say, it's a denial of your reality as though you do not exist. So in that way, I guess we could say a neglectful narcissistic relationship can just be one big gaslight. As a result, these relationships can have numerous negative impacts on a person, including confusion, sadness, feeling like you're not enough, feeling a chronic sense of emptiness, and feeling a sense of longing, constantly trying to do more and more things to try to gain the notice of the neglectful narcissist, and your life becomes a chronic hoop-jumping circus. But in this circus, there is never a reward at the end of the trick. You will not get them to notice you unless they really do need something from you, and that can really add insult to injury. Because not only do they then pay attention for you just long enough to get what they need, then they go right back to ignoring you, which brings into even more stark focus that you are nothing more than a convenience to them, that they call forth only when they need something. They kind of feel like a vending machine. So neglectful narcissistic relationships are really the ones that are most lacking in the key ingredients of all healthy relationships, namely two important issues: reciprocity and mutuality. Reciprocity is the back and forth of a relationship where, without thinking, you're there for the other person, you listen to them, they listen to you, you do things for each other, you make compromises, and you ideally don't even really think about it. It's a natural tendency to be able to do this for people who are able to do this, to be those who have empathy and compassion, and these are the people who value relationships. Mutuality is about all the things shared in a relationship: shared goals, shared tasks, shared vision, or simply having each other's back. Again, something you're never going to get in a relationship with a neglectful narcissist. And these are essential ingredients of any healthy relationship. A partner, a family, a parent, a friend, you name it. Now, as noted in previous videos, narcissism reflects an issue with attachment. Most narcissists do tend to have a more anxious attachment style, but some may have what we call avoidant attachments, and many have a mix between the two. The neglectful narcissist definitely leans towards the avoidant attachment style. They just have very little interest in other people, and when there is interest, it may be for a passing moment, just when they need something. This style and pattern can emanate from someone who may themselves have come from a neglectful home themselves, in which there may have been unavailable early caregivers, unemotional homes, or homes that were characterized by trauma abuse, or other chaos, which just resulted in caregivers just not being available or caregivers being unsafe. This pattern may also be observed in people who come from emotionally cold families and environments. The dismissiveness of their early lives is often something that they carry into adulthood. But surprisingly, believe it or not, for how empty these relationships can be, they can actually be difficult to walk away from. You would think that such a negating, unavailable person would be very easy to leave. They weren't even paying attention to. They may not even notice you leaving. But that part of you, and it really may be a legacy perhaps of your own narcissistic family of origin, may be wired to just keep trying and trying and trying to win them over. In fact, their neglect in an unhealthy way is the hook that keeps the relationship strangely engaging. You may keep trying and trying to get their attention, and in a way, it's as though these relationships always give you something to do. You're always trying to win them over, always trying to look good, cartwheel through the living room, get a big enough gift to just get them interested and to pay attention, plan elaborate parties, whatever. It's a full-time job to get, not even win them over, to get them to notice you, and because of that, it can slowly become your identity. Your job is trying to get them to notice you. Walking away from an identity is not easy. And in that way, these neglectful narcissists play upon that slot machine paradigm that I have talked about before. You keep playing the machine and wasting your money because you think that this time, this pull, this is when it's going to hit. And in that way, you keep putting effort into the neglectful narcissist because maybe after all this time, maybe it will hit. And just like with that slot machine, it's probably not going to. People also get stuck in the familiarity of it all. And as with all narcissistic relationships, many people choose the devil they know rather than the angel they may not have met yet. Leaving one of these relationships will always be difficult until you do the work of you and recognize your worth. No one's going to do that work for you. That you deserve to be seen and heard. And if you can experience that internal shift, then you can at least no longer face the pain of the neglect and perhaps recognize the pragmatic reasons you may stay in a relationship like this because you have children or because it gives you security or safety or money. But if you do stay, it becomes important to recognize they will never see you or notice you. So at a minimum, you may then try to cultivate spaces in your life where that can happen, whether that is in friendships or professional endeavors or other healthy family relationships. And once you realize that you do deserve to be seen, you may just finally cut bait and leave, because that ain't going to happen in this relationship. Now, managing them and managing these relationships is largely a function of good old radical acceptance. They are never going to really notice you and will only do so when it is convenient for them. When you start from that premise, it can make it a bit easier to cope with all of this because you may be less likely to personalize it, and it is essential that you do not personalize it. This is them. This is what they do. They neglect. And when you see it against the larger narcissistic framework of their lack of empathy and their entitlement, you can see that they really do believe that they do not need to notice anyone if they feel they can't be bothered. Don't personalize it, and work to cultivate other spaces in your life where you are seen. Because waiting for them to notice you is like waiting for a bus that is never going to come. The pattern of neglectful narcissism is often missed by people in these relationships, and even by mental health practitioners. We often think of narcissists as brash, in-your-face, demanding, rageful, or even needy. These neglectful narcissists are the ones where, even as you're dying on the vine, that you are the garden which dies because nobody waters it. It is a slow and invalidating process. Many times, people with neglectful narcissistic partners don't feel like the various blogs and books and videos on narcissism even come close to capturing their process. But this pattern is real. The neglectful narcissist can often seem as though they are too superior to be bothered with all the niceties and the things we have to do in human relationships. And that is where their arrogance comes out the most. And they will be the ones sort of snobbily sitting in the corner and seeming judgment of the rest of us and our messy and our joyous worlds of actually caring about each other. Don't let their neglect of you foster your neglect of yourself. Recognize this pattern for what it is. You are not lacking anything. It is they who just lack the capacity for a variety of reasons to fully engage in this thing called life and love. I do hope that this series has illuminated neglectful narcissism for you. I know it's a term some of you may not have heard. I'm sure upon listening to it, some of you thought, oh, this is interesting. I might be in a relationship that's a bit covert, but also more neglectful than not. So I'm hoping by shedding light on this, you now understand that, yeah, this thing you were enduring was real. And even though it didn't have the bells and whistles of a traditional narcissistic relationship, the kinds of fallout for you are as real as they are for the other forms of narcissism. Thanks again for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, join us on this channel, and we look forward to seeing you soon.